Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Today's video kicks off with a guy who was convinced he'd hacked the gas pump using his gift card, and the mental gymnastics he pulled to prove it will have you facepalming. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. This man was convinced he'd outsmarted the gas pump. I work at a gas station, and like anyone who deals with the general public, I've seen my fair share of odd customers and confusing conversations, but every now and then someone comes along who leaves me completely dumbfounded. Last night was one of those nights. It started out simple enough. A man pulled up to the pump and used a $25 gift card to pay. He put in a little over $20 worth of gas, finished up at the pump, and then came inside the store. At first, I thought maybe he wanted a receipt or had a question about his transaction. Instead, what followed was one of the most confusing exchanges I've ever had. The man walked up to the counter holding his gift card, looking concerned, but also strangely confident that he was about to educate me on how my own system worked. "Hi," he began. "I just used this gift card worth $25 out at the pump and got around $20 of gas." "Okay," I replied, waiting for the part where he told me what the problem was. "I put the card in and pulled it right back out," he continued, "so there's no way it electronically wrote on there that I spent money." I stared at him for a second, trying to process what he'd just said. "But you purchased the gas, right?" "Yes," he confirmed, "but the card doesn't know the funds came out. You need to electronically write that I spent the money." Now I was completely confused. "Sir, you couldn't have gotten the gas without issuing payment. The funds were taken out of the gift card's balance." He shook his head like I wasn't getting it, "But it didn't electronically write that I did. You have to do it with your computer." I tried to explain the money came out of a kind of account that was created when the gift card was issued. When you swipe the card at the pump, the system automatically deducts the amount before it allows you to pump gas. But he wasn't having it. His voice got louder, and he spoke with the certainty of someone convinced he was pointing out some major flaw in the system. "It didn't write electronically. There was no time. I pulled the card right back out." At this point, I realized logic wasn't going to get me anywhere. I took a deep breath and said, "Well, I can print you a receipt showing the remaining balance on the card if you'd like, just to reassure you that it was charged. Please swipe it here." He gave me a look like he'd finally won the argument. "Fine," he said, swiping the gift card through the card reader. I brought up the check balance function on my system and printed out the receipt. It showed exactly what you'd expect, a remaining balance of $4.15. I handed him the receipt, hoping that would be the end of it. He glanced at the paper, smirked, and said, "There, like I told you. Now you electronically wrote it on the gift card just now. The card was charged." I blinked at him. "Sir, no, this is just information. It was already charged at the pump. You couldn't have gotten gas without paying for it first." But he just snorted, waved his hand like he was dismissing my explanation, and said, "Whatever, I'll take your word for it, if you will." Then he turned on his heel and walked out, leaving me standing there wondering what on earth had just happened. I honestly don't know what he thought was going on. Did he believe the gift card worked like a ledger that physically needs to be updated by hand or manually written on through my computer? Did he think he'd somehow hacked the pump by pulling the card out quickly and gotten free gas? I'll never know. What I do know is that after he left, I had to take a minute to just breathe and shake off the confusion. Then I got back to work, because at a gas station, there's always another customer, and you never know what they'll throw at you next. Next time, tell him that when you buy a gift card, it's like buying a bank account, and the gift card gives you access to the account. When you insert the gift card at the pump, you're telling the pump to use funds from the account to pay for however much fuel you pump, and not to pump more fuel than the account can cover. And our second story. Apparently, the whole park belongs to her. This happened to me earlier this morning. I just moved to a new city less than a month ago and have been checking out the parks where dogs are required to be on a leash. I have an older dog, a little terrier, and he's been attacked in the past by large dogs, so random dogs running up to him off leash freaks him out. It also makes me a bit nervous because I was also attacked as a kid by a dog, bit in the face, almost lost a cheek, and had to have reconstructive plastic surgery. But by and large, I love animals, especially dogs, because 9 times out of 10, a dog's bad behavior is because of the owner, so I don't blame the dog. So at a new on-leash park this morning, things are going fine until my dog and I walk over a rise, and further down the trail about 20 to 25 yards is a woman with 2 dogs, both off-leash. The little wiener dog's going nowhere fast, but the German Shepherd sees me and my dog and immediately bolts for us, barking. I picked up my terrier and get him lifted up over my head by the time the German Shepherd reaches us. I've learned over the last 5 years of having him that this is the easier way to keep him calm. Her dog's now right there. It's growling and trying to jump up and get at my dog. I loudly told the woman to call off her dog. She just stands there watching. Her dog makes another jumping lunge for mine, so I use my legs to push it away and yelled, "Call off your dog," again. This apparently pisses her off because she completely lost it. This woman starts screaming at me, calling me B and to get out of my park and stop kicking my dog, you C-word. I'm not kicking her dog. I'm just using my legs to deflect her dog each time it tries to jump up at my dog that I still have held up over my head. I yelled again, "Call off your dog. If it bites, I will call the police." She called her dog off then, but it took a few attempts before it stopped. At no point did this woman even move from where she was. She just stood there until her dog finally responded to her command and went back to her. As soon as she had him by the collar, she started to cuss me out again, telling me to get out of my park. Took off back to the parking area with my dog and got him in my car. Is it over? Oh no, this woman also comes into the parking area and starts loading her dogs into her car while continuing to scream at me how I've ruined her day, reiterating that it's her park, she can do whatever she wants there, with more swearing peppered through her tirade. I took the opportunity to snap a picture of her and her license plate and Google the local non-emergency line and dial. This makes her visibly angrier, and she looks like she's going to come across the parking area toward home until I start talking into the phone about how I'd like to make a report about an aggressive dog and woman in the park. Woman proceeds to get into her car and leave in a hurry at that point, still cursing and swearing at me, which definitely helped confirm the validity of my call. Edit. Just adding that I decided to call the non-emergency line anyways because while her dog didn't bite me, her utter lack of concern and her behavior, coupled with her dogs being aggressive, makes me worried this won't be an isolated issue. The park in question has a large play area for children near the parking lot, and I'd hate this woman's entitlement to result in a child or someone else and their dog there being harmed by her lack of desire to follow the clearly posted rules to keep dogs leashed. I don't like to stereotype, but this woman was the epitome of entitled Karen. I'd say late 50s, early 60s, white, that haircut, and driving a new green Kia Sport. But Karen either needs to get back on her meds or start some because the absolute conviction she kept screaming about the park being hers was off the charts. She probably scared off all the other people with her aggressive dog, and when no one came back, decided the park was hers. She probably scared off all the other people with her aggressive dog, and when no one came back, decided the park was hers. You did good by collecting evidence and hopefully initiating a formal investigation. And our last story. Karen demolished my shed. It all started when Karen moved into the modern farmhouse next to my family's century-old property. The house had been vacant for a while, so at first we were hopeful maybe she'd be a good neighbor. That illusion shattered within a week. From the moment she settled in, Karen set her sights on my weathered but sturdy tool shed that sat near the edge of our shared property line. The shed wasn't fancy. My late father built it 20 years ago out of reclaimed barn wood. It housed about $15,000 worth of farming equipment, and it meant something to me. Every board reminded me of afternoons spent with him, fixing up the farm. The structure was solid, fully permitted, and well-maintained. But none of that mattered to Karen. She started leaving notes in my mailbox, calling it an eyesore and a safety hazard. The first one was polite enough, but each note after dripped with more entitlement. When I didn't tear the shed down on command, Karen escalated. That summer, the county inspector came out no less than 3 times thanks to anonymous complaints. Each time, he'd walk around, check everything, and shake his head. "Nothing wrong here," he said. "You're well within code." After the 3rd visit, he muttered, "I'm starting to feel harassed myself." Karen didn't stop. I'd catch her at the property line, phone in hand, snapping pictures at odd hours. Then my farm stand business took a hit. Out of nowhere, bad online reviews started rolling in, ones that described my produce as grown near toxic waste or contaminated by dangerous structures. The language was so distinctively shrill that I knew exactly where it came from. Customers told me that Karen had approached them while they browsed, warning them about chemicals and filth near my crops. Everything came to a head last October. I was away at a regional farmers market for the weekend. When I got home, I stopped in my tracks at the end of the drive, the shed gone. All that was left was a concrete slab and piles of broken, splintered wood. My tools? Gone too. On the fence post fluttered a business card for a local demolition company. I called them immediately. The foreman answered, sounding confused when I explained who I was. "We were hired by a neighbor," he said. "Lady said the owner abandoned the property months ago. She flagged us down, paid in cash, said we'd be doing the neighborhood a favor." I asked him to describe her. No question, it was Karen. Thankfully, I'd installed wildlife cameras months earlier after seeing the bear sniffing around. When I reviewed the footage, there she was, Karen waving down the demolition crew, gesturing animatedly at the shed, handing over an envelope stuffed with bills. Clear as day, you could hear her on the audio. "Yes, just tear it all down. The owner abandoned this place months ago." The camera even caught the smirk on her face as the backhoe swung its first hit. I called the sheriff's office that night. When I showed them the footage, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The deputy actually whistled low and said, "Well, this'll be an easy one." The court process was long, but Karen didn't have a leg to stand on. She tried to argue that she was protecting the neighborhood's property values. The judge didn't even try to hide his disbelief when we played the footage in court. Karen was convicted of felony destruction of property. On top of that, I sued for triple damages in civil court, covering not just the shed and equipment, but the income I lost that harvest season while I scrambled to replace my tools. The judgment came out to $42,750 plus court costs. Karen tried to appeal, claiming the punishment was too harsh. The appellate court didn't just uphold the ruling, they tacked on another $5,000 in sanctions for wasting the court's time. After that, things fell apart for Karen. The financial strain broke her marriage. Her husband left, and their dream farmhouse eventually went into foreclosure when she couldn't pay the debt. The last I heard, she moved into an apartment over a hardware store. The irony wasn't lost on me. With the money from the judgment, I built a new shed. The demolition crew that tore down the old one felt so bad about being tricked that they built the new one for half the usual price. Inside, mounted on the wall, is a framed copy of the court judgment right above my father's old tools. The wildlife cameras were the perfect twist of fate. Karen thought she was being clever, but she didn't account for technology or the law. The footage was so damning that even the sheriff's deputy knew she was cooked. Watching her try to spin her actions in court as some kind of neighborhood service must have been surreal. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.